The laughter started low, almost harmless. It rolled across the bar like distant thunder, drawing a few glances but no immediate concern. Glasses clinked, a jukebox hummed softly in the corner. Friday night had settled in comfortably until one man decided he needed an audience. Mark Delaney leaned back on his stool, swirling the ice in his drink, his voice just loud enough to cut through the music. "You here alone?" he asked the woman seated two chairs away. She didn't look up right away. The woman's name was Rachel Morgan. She wore a simple dark jacket, her hair tied neatly at the back of her neck. No flashy jewelry, no attempt to draw attention. She had chosen the corner seat deliberately, facing the wall mirror so she could observe the room without being observed too closely. "I am," she replied calmly. Mark smirked. He had spent the evening telling exaggerated stories about business deals and gym records, feeding off approving nods. Rachel's quiet presence seemed to bother him. Silence to him felt like judgment. "You don't talk much, do you?" he continued. "Or are you just sizing us up?" A few patrons chuckled nervously. Rachel lifted her glass of water, her hand steady, just enjoying the evening. Mark tilted his head, enjoying it. "You look like you're waiting to grade us." The bartender shot him a warning glance, but Mark was enjoying himself too much. Rachel had grown used to rooms like this. She had walked through far harsher environments without flinching. Still, something about public mockery always stirred a quiet ache, not from insecurity, but from disappointment. She had seen courage in places where fear was rational. She had seen humility in people with nothing, and here in a warm bar filled with comfort, she saw insecurity disguised as confidence. Mark leaned closer. "Let me guess," he said loudly. "You're one of those mysterious types. Probably think you're tougher than you look." The laughter grew sharper. Rachel finally turned toward him fully. There was no anger in her eyes, only patience. "Toughness," she said gently, "isn't something you announce." The words landed heavier than anyone expected. Mark scoffed. "Right, and what would you know about tough?" The room held its breath. Rachel reached into her jacket pocket. For a split second, curiosity replaced amusement. She placed a small leather wallet on the bar and opened it with deliberate calm. Then she slid a military identification card onto the polished wood between them. The overhead lights reflected off the emblem. Silence fell like a curtain. Mark's grin faltered. He leaned forward, squinting at the insignia and the rank printed beneath her name. The air shifted. Conversations around them slowed. Even the jukebox seemed quieter. Rachel didn't raise her voice. "I served 12 years, she said evenly. 2 deployments overseas, logistics command. I've led teams in situations where silence wasn't optional, it was survival." Mark swallowed. The weight of his earlier words echoed back at him. Rachel continued, not to embarrass him, but to clarify. "You don't know who someone is just because they don't perform for you." A woman at a nearby table nodded subtly. The bartender exhaled slowly. Mark felt heat creep up his neck. He hadn't expected this. He had assumed, judged, performed, and now the room was watching him. There was a fragile moment, then one that could tip toward defensiveness or growth. Mark could double down, laugh it off, turn it into another joke. Instead, something inside him shifted. He thought of his younger sister, who had once left home to join the service despite his doubts. He remembered how he'd teased her too, calling it unnecessary dramatic. He hadn't understood her quiet resolve then either. "I didn't mean," he began but stopped. Excuses felt small. Rachel held his gaze, not triumphantly but steadily. "It's easy to mistake quiet for weakness," she said. "It's harder to admit when you're wrong." The bar remained silent, suspended in the tension of accountability. Mark looked down at his glass. For the first time that night, he wasn't performing, he was reflecting. "You're right," he said finally, voice lower. "I was out of line." The admission surprised even him. Rachel nodded once and slid her ID back into her pocket. No dramatic speech, no victory, just dignity. The bartender offered Rachel a soft drink on the house. A few patrons murmured their respect. But Rachel didn't stay for praise. She finished her water and prepared to leave. As she stood, Mark spoke again, not loudly this time. "Thank you," he said, "for the reminder." Rachel paused. She considered the sincerity in his tone. "Respect doesn't cost anything," she replied, "but it means everything." Outside, the night air felt cool against her skin. The hum of traffic replaced the bar's tension. She walked with the same quiet composure she had carried into far more uncertain places. Inside, Mark sat in thoughtful silence. The laughter from earlier now felt hollow. He realized how often he had filled silence with noise because he feared stillness, but strength, he understood now, wasn't loud. It was controlled, earned, lived. The bar gradually returned to its usual rhythm, but something intangible had changed. A subtle awareness lingered, a reminder that stories often sit quietly beside us, unseen. Rachel didn't need applause. She had already faced rooms far harsher than that one, and Mark had learned something that would follow him longer than the embarrassment. True strength doesn't demand attention, it commands respect without asking for it. Because the loudest lesson in any room is often delivered in silence,